In this activity, we're going to use 3ds Max or Viz, and we're going to be importing our residential house. So go to File and go to File Link Manager, and then we're going to attach a file, and this should be on your T drive. Go ahead and select your house that you've created, your residential house, and before you import it in, you might want to look at the layers to include. This is a very nice feature. If you go back and work on your house after you import it in here and add some things, you can turn things off. That way you don't have to have double items in there. So if you make modifications and you just want to bring a couple things in here, you can always do it this way. So I have all of this selected, and go ahead and attach this file. Alright, and once your house is in, you can always inspect it on the perspective view. You can make it a larger view and look at your house. And the other thing you can do is on your keyboard you can push the arrow keys. It's another way of going around your house, but we're going to put a camera in here. So we're going to maximize the viewport, hit the escape key, and then let's go ahead and select the camera, and we're going to, actually before we do that, let's go ahead and we're going to put a squiggly line in here. So let's go ahead and find that line. So there it is, line, and we want to smooth. And let's go in the top view here and let's try to get a little bit outside of our house here. We'll start outside our house and come right in the door. And you want to just go through your house as best as you can, going through each room. And you don't want to go crazy because you'll get yourself sick going through your house. And let's go through what my living room is, and then we're just going to fly out this door, and I'll hit the escape key. And then let's go ahead while we're here, hit the escape key, select it, right click and say move, and then go ahead and select on the blue arrow. Let's just move it up at eye level. Okay, so once we've done that, let's go ahead and add the camera. Select the camera, and go ahead and just drop it in on the left view. And this is going to be free camera, and drop it in near where that line is, and we're going to be coming from the front. I messed that up, no worries. Okay, so then let's go on to the top view, hit the escape key, and then got that top view, zoom in, and if you want a better view of it, we can. The problem with doing smooth and highlight is we can't see inside our house, so that's not going to work, but just so you know, wireframe. Let's select the camera, let's go ahead and rotate it in the directions we want to go. Hit the escape key, and let's attach this to our line. Just move it on over next to our line, and then what we want to do is go to this wheel for motion, assign controller, hit the position, select the question mark, and go ahead and do a path constraint, and then you must select the add path, and then select the line that we made, and it should go onto the path, and we're going to have it follow the path. Now if it does anything funny like that, the camera moved at a weird angle. Let's go ahead and rotate that. Alright, the other thing is, on this camera it's really important that we have that I modify the view that I'm seeing. I want a what's called a fisheye lens. Like 15 millimeters, not bad. And then let's go ahead and look at that. Alright, a couple things you can do. If you want to modify the line once you make it, select the line, and on the modify you can select the vertex. So for example, if I wanted this to move it, you can move it. It's actually, once I select the camera, move. Okay. So for example, let's just say I want this line to come in. I could do something like that. Where I'm flying in at an angle. There, you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so then let's not get too carried away here, but you see what we can do with the camera. Once it's in there, we can always modify it. And then you right click on the perspective, actually end of view, but let's do it on the perspective and select camera. And then let's make this a larger view. Push play. Okay, really fast, right? So what you want to do in that sense is go ahead to the time configuration, and we have 100 frames. Let's go ahead and make that 1,000 frames. And we're not going to be doing the rendering, we're just going to be practicing the rendering. Alright, and then let's... Okay, then go ahead and select the camera. And then you'll see it's at 100, so we're going to move that to 1,000. So this time when I do the play, it'll go much slower. And there are a lot of little features you can do to this. One of the things you can do on this, makes it a little bit more interesting, is you can select that camera. Let's rewind it. And in the modify, there are a lot of effects you can do. Let's find a decent one for us. Actually, I think it's in the motion control here. You can bank this. Now this is kind of like an airplane here, and we can do this manually. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to want to add lights also. So you can see it's kind of banking as it goes here. Alright. And then we fly out of our house like such. Okay. And that is the completion of the exercise. We have created a rendering. Now if you want to do a test rendering here, you go to render. And we want to do an active segment, and you want this to be a small frame, and I'm not looking for a final rendering, but if you were, you would do it this way. This is a good way. The files, we want to save this as a AVI file as a residential house. Okay. And then when you add the lights on here and the textures, you can find them on the menus on the top. Some of the best lights are these Omni lights that you can place in. Now the problem is once you start placing these in here, you really have to place them in everywhere. And the best way to do it is to drop one of these in, and you want to make sure that it's not on the ground. Hit the escape key move it up, and you can creep inside your house with your camera and see what's going on in there. Now the best way to add lights at this point, once you have one that you like, is to clone it. And you can see it gets very bright in there, and you can just then move it throughout your house as you need to, as opposed to dropping new lights in. And as I said, once you put one light in, it changes the way that everything is framed. However, it's a much more realistic view of the house. So I'd probably put about at least 4 or 5 lights in, at least one in every room, because these lights will not go through walls. Now some lights actually will. You can play around with them and then go through your house. Changes the way it looks. And that is the completion of the exercise.